The A's make another move that was completely under the radar, yet so brilliant. I will tell you about it next on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your host, Booney. Episodes will drop Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. That is Oakland time, Vegas time, and Sacramento time, whether you are on your way to work, driving back from work, or casually listening during the day. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since 81, and I'm here to bring you a real fans take, covering everything from Oakland, Sacramento, to Las Vegas. This is the place for A's fans to get the latest breakdowns, team news, and more. This is where the passion of the fans take center stage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Come on now, David Forst. To say I am pleasantly surprised is an understatement. And the work GM David Forst has done in this offseason is impressive, to say the least. But they are still not done. They are still looking to snag a third baseman and had talks with the Phillies and Alec Bohm. What do the Phillies want in return? That's later. By now, we have heard about the trade the A's made on Saturday, obtaining left-handed pitcher from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Jeffrey Springs. But what did the A's give up? We will get into that in a bit. But first, the highlight of the trade, Jeffrey Springs. Let's dive into exactly what the A's are getting. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time! Okay, today we are diving deep into the blockbuster trade between the Athletics and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Let's break it down. Talk about the players involved, and look how this impacts the A's going forward. The Athletics receive left-handers Jeffrey Springs and Jacob Lopez. The Tampa Bay Rays receive right-hander Joe Boyle, right-hander Jacob Waters, first baseman outfielder Will Simpson, and the Rays also receive a competitive balance round A pick in the 2025 draft. All right. The Athletics have obviously been making waves this offseason. Adding Jeffrey Springs further bolsters a rotation that desperately needs upgrades after struggling with a 4.76 ERA last season. Now, Jeffrey Springs, he brings a 4-year, $31 million extension with the Rays. Seemed like a bargain at the time, but injuries limited him to just 82 innings over the last two seasons. When healthy, Springs has been lights out, posting a 2.46 ERA in 2022 and a 3.27 ERA in limited action last year. If Springs can stay healthy, he'll be a crucial top of the rotation arm alongside Severino. Let's not overlook the financial aspects here, right? The Athletics needed to raise their payroll to avoid a grievance from the Major League Baseball Players Association. With Springs, $10.5 million salary for 2025, the A's are addressing both roster and financial needs. Now, looking ahead, with Springs and Severino leading the charge, the A's rotation now has a credible look. There's still room for more moves, as GM David Forst hinted, but this trade represents a significant step for a team trying to remain competitive before their move to Las Vegas. The only way this trade really works out for the A's is if Springs stays healthy. He had Tommy John surgery in April of 2023. It put Springs out for basically the last 2 seasons. He did return in July of last year and had a 3.27 ERA with 7 starts and 33 innings. The Rays did shut him down in September with fatigue to his elbow. A couple months back, I had Scott Feldman on the show, a former 18-year Major League veteran who played for a number of Major League Baseball teams. Scott himself had Tommy John surgery early in his career, and he discussed what it is like and what you can expect from a pitcher recovering from Tommy John surgery. I'm going to play that clip right now.
Gotten drafted again because I ended up needing Tommy John surgery pretty much right after I signed, so age 20. So I would have been doing that whole rehab deal in college, and you never know how those things could turn out. So, I mean, it can definitely have, if you're injured and you need Tommy John surgery, just taking that year off and getting like a reset on your whole body and your mind and your arm can be very helpful. But I hear parents, all the time with little kids like 12, 13, 14 that think, oh, if they get Tommy John, they're going to come back and throw harder. And that is not the case. I just want to make that clear right away. That is not the case. So try to avoid going under the knife at any cause, right? But
yes,
it ended up working out well for me, and it's such a science that they have it down to now with this Tommy John. So most of the time, you do end up coming back and being able to continue on with your career.
The Jeffrey Springs trade is a risk, no question about it. But I believe the A's have done their due diligence and like the move a lot. When he is right, he has shown he can be one of the best left-handed pitchers in all of baseball. In my opinion, I feel the upside far outweighs the downside. Speaking of downsides, what did the A's really give up? Let's dive into that up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. When I personally look at a sports book, there are 2 things that are most important to me. Is it easy to deposit? And more importantly, is it easy to withdraw? FanDuel checks both boxes for me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5. Get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. This episode is also brought to you by SelectQuote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. they can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. In sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to keep you moving towards the goalposts. Winning strategies for life are just as important. And that's why on my team, I have life insurance through SelectQuote to protect my legacy and my family's financial future. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. Okay, let's look at this trade from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays perspective on what they got and, more importantly, really what the A's lost. This trade is a classic Rays trade, maximizing value while managing their payroll and roster depth, as well as maintaining their flexibility and adding intriguing young talent. Why did they trade Springs? Well, the Rays have no shortage of rotation options with Shane McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, and others ready to contribute. Springs, while talented, became expendable due to his rising salary and past injuries. What did the Rays get? What did the A's lose? Joe Boyle. He was in the starting rotation to begin the 2024 campaign for the A's. He's a flamethrower, 97.7 mph fastball, but control issues. The Rays have a history of helping pitchers like Boyle harness their potential. Don't be surprised if he becomes a key bullpen or rotation piece. I'm torn with the loss of Boyle. While I love Springs, Boyle had such big upside. And when he was right, he was tough. Control is something that will come along with time. And I believe that you have not heard the last of Joe Boyle. So I'm a little torn in losing Joe Boyle. I love the return in Springs, but yeah, I think he's going to be a gem. Jacob Waters, a potential bullpen arm with swing and miss stuff. Will Simpson, a promising hitter who's been crushing it in the minors. While his defense may need work, his bat is worth keeping an eye on. To me, the biggest loss of this trade was the 2025 competitive balance round A pick. This was huge. Now, these picks are rare and valuable, giving Tampa another opportunity to add a high-level prospect to their farm system. Now, let's get into first, what exactly is a round A competitive balance pick? It almost sounds like a throw-in, something that doesn't matter when it was first announced, like just almost something like a player to be named later type deal. But when in fact, this is a big deal. So MLB is always trying to level the playing field between your big market teams and your lower market teams, since there's no salary cap in baseball. And MLB instituted a new round in the MLB draft that is designed to help the lower market teams. Yes, basically like a charity case. If a team ranks in the bottom 10 of the league in revenue or is in one of the 10 smallest markets, it is eligible for a competitive balance pick in the MLB draft. In this case, the A's gave up a round A pick, which follows the first round. Round B teams follow the second round. There isn't anything after a round B pick. And yes, basically, if you are one of these teams, which both the Rays and A's are, you are basically given a late first round pick or an early second round pick, or a late second round pick or an early third round pick, however you want to look at it. There are generally a total of 14 to 16 of these competitive balance picks for both rounds combined. So yeah, this isn't a little thing whatsoever. And to me, there is no question that this is the biggest part of this trade. The Rays' ability to extract value from players like Boyle and Simpson could pay dividends, while moving Springs allows the Rays to reallocate resources to other needs. This was a big deal, man. And on top of that, the competitive balance pick around a pick, I believe the Rays have 3 of them in the 2025 draft. So it's a big deal. The A's farm system right now is strong. They're loaded with young talent. I think if there's any team out there that can afford to do it, it is the A's. But still, this was a big move, and that round a competitive pick is no small thing. What is next for the A's? Are they done? What is going on? What is on the horizon? That's up next. This episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and more with Game Time picks. I'm looking to go to the Golden State Warrior games on Christmas Day. Fa la 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 la. Against the Los Angeles Lakers. And what I love about the Game Time experience is the all-in pricing feature, where it shows you the total upfront of your ticket with no surprise fees at checkout. It's the only ticketing app that gives me complete peace of mind. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time. Okay, what is next? First, let's talk money. The A's are facing unique financial pressure this offseason, as we all know. Here's the situation. To recap, MLB's revenue sharing system means the A's are expected to receive $70 million or more. The rules clearly state that teams must spend at least 150% of that revenue sharing on MLB payroll. Translation? The A's need a luxury tax payroll of $105 million in 2025 to avoid a grievance from the MLB Players Association. Currently, their projected payroll for luxury tax purposes sits at $88.5 million. That leaves them around $18 million to spend. But here's where it gets tricky. How they spend that money could define their season and their standing with the league. Now, why does that matter? For years, the A's have been criticized, obviously, for underinvesting in their roster. This newfound willingness to spend isn't just about avoiding grievances. It's a chance to reshape their reputation and competitive outlook. Bolstering the rotation, who's on the radar? After acquiring Jeff Springs, the A's rotation definitely looks more solid, but there is still room for improvement. With $15 million left in their luxury tax budget, the A's could target veterans like, we've talked about him before, Andrew Heaney from the Rangers, Kyle Gibson from the Cardinals. These names might not be flashy, but they'd add depth and experience to the back end of the rotation. No question about it. But what if the A's decide to go all in? There's a chance they could spend beyond the $105 million threshold, especially since their actual cash payroll is projected to be just $64 million in 2025. That gives them flexibility to address multiple needs, including pitching and third base. My concern mostly is for another infielder. If you look at our infield right now, you got Soderstrom at first, Geloff at second. You have Jacob Wilson at short and Max Schumann at third. And believe it or not, the only individual in that infield that has shown history and consistency in the 2024 season and the best infielder right now is Schumann. And that's the guy we're trying to replace. Jacob Wilson, no question, his upside is off the charts. And if he comes anywhere close to to what he's projected to do, he's going to be just fine. Zach Geloff is coming off the worst year in his young career. He led all of baseball in strikeouts. I'm more concerned about second base than I am third base. But if Geloff shows any type of player that he was in 2023, we're good there. Soderstrom has a huge upside. I think last week I compared him to Christian Yelich. He's unbelievable. He was hurt for a portion of last year. But yeah, he showed those flashes. We need another middle infielder, not necessarily a third baseman. But let's get into it. Here's where things get really interesting. Third base is one of the hottest positions in the league this offseason. Big names like Alex Bregman, Nolan Arenado are dominating the rumor mill. But let's face it, neither of those players are going to land with the A's in Sacramento. Instead, the A's will look at more realistic options. Here are a few. They were in talks this last weekend with Alec Bohm with the Phillies, who can fit with the A's long-term plans. But you know who the Phillies wanted in return? Mason Miller. Talk stopped right there. We're not giving up no Mason Miller for Alec Bohm. Thanks. Here's an interesting one. Eugenio Suarez, a veteran presence who's also been floated as a trade trip from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Lower tier options. Jorge Polanco. I've talked about Paul DeJong in the past, or Yohan Moncada. All lower level type of free agent options that can fill third base or another position in the infield. The A's could also explore deals with teams like the Blue Jays or Orioles who have infield surpluses. Players like Davis Schneider or Ramon Urias could be intriguing fits. As I said earlier, I don't think it has to be a third baseman. I think we need another middle infielder. Adding a reliable bat and glove would help their lineup depth and signal to the fans in the league that they're serious about building a competitive team. This offseason isn't just about assembling a roster. It's about balancing financial obligations with on-field ambitions. For the A's, hitting the $105 million luxury tax payroll is essential to avoid legal trouble, but it's also an opportunity to redefine identity as a franchise. If they can land a solid third baseman, middle infielder, a reliable arm for the rotation, they'll not only meet the league's expectations, but also give their fans something to cheer for in 2025. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on Wednesday.